Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I'd like to discuss the very differing views that the two anti-Brexit parties governing Scotland, the SNP and the Greens, have over what Boris Johnson and the Conservatives are trying to push as one of their big Brexit benefits, Freeports. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So normally in this slot, I would be doing a review of Prime Minister's questions. Not on this week because Parliament is in recess. Which is a little odd because the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, I don't know what the threat level is, but Boris Johnson keeps insisting there is an imminent threat of war in Europe. Well, then why hasn't he recalled Parliament? Good question. I don't know the answer to it. But there it is. There is no PMQs this week, so we're going to discuss Freeports. And there are three main things to consider in this video. So one is, well, what are Freeports in both concept and reality? Secondly, why are they being mislabeled as a Brexit benefit when this is untrue? And thirdly, why are the SNP interested in promoting the proposal by Boris Johnson, or at least getting on board with it? So first of all, the government, the Westminster government, because we're talking about two governments here, the Westminster government, Boris Johnson's government, claimed that Freeports are something we can do now that we've left the EU and would help regenerate left behind areas with lots of new and well-paid jobs. Brilliant. Now, what a Freeport is an area where the normal tax and customs rules are suspended, basically. So you can import goods into a Freeport area without having to deal with tariffs or the sorts of complex paperwork that is now blighting our post-Brexit trade. Obviously, those goods cannot then pass outside the Freeport area without dealing with those tax and customs arrangements. So what you do, if you're living in an area that's going to get one of these new Freeports, you create a customs border effectively around your town. So one problem straight away is that the movement of goods between the Freeport area and the rest of the country becomes more problematic. So what is the benefit? Well, the idea is that a manufacturer based in a Freeport area, a factory, say, they can import materials or components to their factory without having to pay tariffs or deal with that mountain of paperwork, so it reduces their costs. They can then use those components or materials in the manufacture of their goods and then export them to customers abroad. It wouldn't work for supplying their own domestic market because, like I say, all you do is shift the customs border. But it wouldn't allow them to avoid it at all. So what this is a way for certain businesses basically to make more money. It saves them money. So if you're a business that's manufacturing something for export, it helps you save on import tariffs. But remember, import tariffs are what goes towards our public funds. So they go on public services. So it's a way of allowing businesses to not pay money that would go on public services so that they can make more profit. So what's the benefit to the local community? Well, again, the idea behind it is that manufacturers would set up their production facilities in these Freeport areas and it would generate lots of jobs. And as manufacturing jobs are generally well paid, it would attract good quality jobs with good pay. This sounds like a trickle-down theory of economics, doesn't it? Yes, it does. But trickle-down theories never work out, do they? Now, indeed, the spokesperson from the Scottish Greens said the last time the UK had Freeports, the UK government itself had said it only generated a quarter of the jobs promised and it cost a lot of public money. Hang on, wait a minute. When did the UK have Freeports then? Up until 2012, when David Cameron closed them down because they were expensive and crap. Hang on a minute. We were in the EU then? Yeah. So we had Freeports in the EU? Yeah. Several EU countries have Freeports right now. But the Conservatives said we couldn't have Freeports in the EU. We had Freeports when we were in the EU. Until 10 years ago, we had Freeports. But the Conservatives said, yeah, see, the thing is, the Conservatives have been known to tell the odd fib now and then. So, we had Freeports, but a Conservative government led by David Cameron decided that they cost too much money and didn't provide any decent return and so closed them. So why does Boris Johnson want to bring them back? Now, there are a couple of ways of looking at this. The first way is you could look at it as Boris Johnson not being opposed to something that costs a lot of public money in lost tax revenue in order to allow wealthy businesses to make even more money. As John Major recently said, the current Conservative Party are not actually Conservatives. David Cameron cancelled UK Freeports because they failed as a concept. Although Cameron is hardly someone to be lauded, as he is the instigator of Brexit amongst other things, to say nothing of austerity, the damage he did to the country was largely caused by incompetence and ignorance, not malice. Johnson is different. He has shown that he will consciously facilitate the interests of others, the few, at the cost of the nation and its people. But there's a second way of looking at it as well. Because although the Conservatives are pushing this idea of free ports, doesn't mean that what we're going to get are free ports as they would be understood around the world. It could be that they wish to bring in something else and call it a free port. Bring in massive deregulation, defunding of the country in parcels rather than one fell swoop. We know that there's a certain section of the Conservative Party that wants to completely sweep away regulations in this country and would like there to be virtually no small states, virtually no taxes, virtually no states interference in everything, virtually no public services, preferably no public services. The odd road here and there. And they can't do that in one fell swoop, so they do it in parcels. A bit like Putin taking bits of Eastern Europe a portion at a time to avoid a major conflict. Set up these supposed free ports, then some more, then some more. Eventually with the aim of rolling out the small state concept over a long time rather than a sudden push. Because Conservatives seem to understand the frog in the boiling pot. They know that what they're doing is damaging. But they also know they can commit the most serious damage to the public. If you do it over a long enough period, people just don't notice. And as well as pointing out that free ports come at huge public expense and don't actually produce the jobs claimed, the Scottish Greens also said that they were associated with crime, money laundering, smuggling and low wages. Low wages. Yeah, so these poorer communities that are being promised a high wage industry boom aren't going to get it then. No, they're not going to get it. Free ports are all about making money for corporations, not workers. In fact, the particular type of free port that the government is pushing has been described as more like a US-style charter city. That means their plans aren't just for tax-free areas for businesses to produce and sell without paying their public dues, but various standards could also be suspended in these areas as well, including workers' rights. They can be little pockets of deregulation and a taxation black hole. And I mean a black hole, because not only will this not generate any wealth for the country, it will still suck in resources. Consider that the roads still need to be built and maintained. There still needs to be a police force there, hospitals, schools, fire stations and so on. All those public services still need there. All that public funding still needs to be there. Public money still needs to go in. You just don't get any out. They exist purely for exporting manufacturers, that's it. And they are of little to no value for businesses producing for the domestic market. So then the question is, okay, we can see why the Conservatives want this. Why would the SNP be in favour? Because that is genuinely a bit of a puzzler. Like in the past, they've also poured scorn on the notion, even recent past, because of the realities of how free ports work around the world. Never mind listening to the concept. Look at how they work in practice all over the world. And you say, yeah, a bit different in this country. Look at how they were in this country 10 years ago. As recently as a few months ago, the SNP were at loggerheads with the Westminster government on the plans. In fact, I have to confess, I've seen no real reason given by the SNP as to why they are now supporting the schemes. They have defended their support by saying that they've drawn 4 concessions from the Westminster government around like pay and decarbonisation, that sort of thing. Basically pushing the idea that workers' rights will be respected and net zero policies will still be respected. The Scottish Government said that businesses will need to show that their plans for decarbonisation and their approach to fair work, they've got to produce plans for them before being allowed to set up. But there are a couple of things I would say about that, cautionary things. First, if we have regulations in place for requirements for fair working practices and decarbonisation, you don't need a free port to deliver it. Make it work across the whole country, not a little pocket of the country. Second, What happens if the business produces these plans and satisfies people that, yeah, you've got a plan and that can absolutely work, and they don't follow through with it? What then? Is the Scottish Government really going to close them down and be accused of canning hundreds or even thousands of jobs? Will they even be able to? Needless to say, these plans have no support from trades unions. They understand that it will result in poor working practices because they have eyes and they can look around the world at where free ports are, and they could look at free ports as they were 10 years ago here and go, yeah, we know what happens. Remember despite what the Tories may try and say, this isn't a new idea. This isn't a radical new idea. We have experience of them. Plenty of examples around the world. But there are no examples of any shining beacon in existence from which to draw experience. No free ports in the world that have actually been held up as a model for how it can deliver for the local community, if it's handled in the right way. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.